I'm Peter. How are you? So longtime subscribers of my channel, or anyone that's just searched up cassette rip in the past 2 years, will have seen my old video where I was complaining about cassette rips and aren't done very well. It's just not good. One of my main examples in that video was the first demo tape by Barenaked ladies called Barenaked. I gave a lot of examples as to how the rips that were online of that cassette tape were noise reduction riddled messes of audio information that were hardly even worth listening to. I also mentioned how the tape only really got out there by copies of copies of copies. So I hypothesized that all of the rips that were out there weren't from original tapes, but rather multi-generational dubbed copies. And it was this tape dubbing that was causing the super duper low fidelity. Well, my undying need for a good rip of this tape has been fulfilled, basically. Check this out. Wow. Haha. This is a first-generation copy of the very first demo tape by Barenaked ladies. And sure enough, we can open it up, and there's the cassette right here. So this showed up on Discogs earlier this month, and I went emailing a bunch of my collector friends being like, someone's gotta get this. And the one friend of mine who actually agreed to go and get it was my friend Macoland, who runs bnlhttp.com. And that's a fan site which basically compiles every single Barenaked Ladies MP3 or audio file you could possibly think of. So this includes concert recordings, demo rips, the whole 9 yards. So we agreed to buy the tape, and I was like, do you have a means of ripping the tape so we can have it online in good quality? And he responds back to me, I was actually thinking of sending it to you because you pretty much know what you're doing in terms of that stuff. And I was like, hey, fine by me. So I gave him my info, and a couple of weeks later the tape shows up at my house. And there it is. The very first Barenaked Lady. I'm shaking, I'm this excited. And the entire waiting period from, you know, the tape being purchased, to the tape shipping, to the tape arriving, there is this lingering thought in the back of our minds being like, what if it doesn't sound any better? We figured, it can't get much worse, but what if it's not better? I was blown away. By the time I was ready to rip the tape, I put it in my tape deck and I hit record on Adobe Audition, and I heard it.
I'm Steve. And I'm Ed. And we're Barenaked ladies!
And it was at that point that I was like, okay, well, this tape is gonna sound great the whole way around. And guess what? The entire tape is in consistent quality. It all sounds pretty good. In terms of audio fidelity, there are certain songs on this tape that had details that I never noticed before I was baking this rip. The song Make Your Heart Fly has a tambourine section, and in the old rips you couldn't hear that.
I never seem to know the time when you're with me. You can tell it to the birds, I'll tell the breeze.
The song Great Provider off of this tape was actually officially released as part of a CD single for their song Jane in 1994, I think. And it sounds pretty good on the CD, but to my surprise, it sounds better on my tape rip. Not phenomenally better, because it already sounded, you know, perfectly fine, but there's a little bit more information on the high end. Really Don't Know is another example of a song that had a lot more information on the high end that you would never be able to hear with just the tape rips that were out there, because they were so heavily degraded. There's a bit in the song in the older rips where when it turns into the last verse of the song, there's like a transitional period where the fidelity goes from pretty low to like actually pretty good.
Where is this thing that I call heaven? Did you laugh bang?
But in this tape, the tambourine's there the entire time, and because the tape rips were so bad, there's no way you could have known. Also, in a lot of the tape rips with that song, when Stephen Page and Ed Robertson start laughing at the end, like, it gets cut off. And I don't know what that's for, but it's a thing that happened. There's a 5-second song at the end of the tape, if you can call it a song, and it's called How's the Level. It's on the track listing on the tape's insert, so it's a wonder as to why most of the tape rips you'll find on the internet don't include it. The songs A Message to You, Rudy, and If I Had $1 Million are actually swapped on the track listing. I don't know if this is a thing that's, just a mistake, or a fluke, or maybe all the tapes were like this. There's really no way to know unless someone's like, oh yeah, I have the tape and it's like that too. But the track listing on the insert of the cassette is wrong. There's another detail that I only recently realized about the older rips that I can explain now and I wasn't aware of when I made my last video about cassette rips, is that these files were usually traded between collectors on really bad CDRs. So sure enough, if you remember my upload on my alt account with the old rip of Barenaked that was almost sort of kind of better than the super duper common one, you'll have noticed throughout the songs, or certain songs anyway, that there are like bursts of digital noise. It'll sound like cracks and pops on a record player, and that's from the CDR. And some songs were considerably worse than others, where like the entire song will just be plagued with digital crackling and it'll make it borderline unlistenable. But thankfully, this is the age of just, file sharing and sending digital files through the computer, and we don't need to worry about another physical medium, messing that up and corrupting and whatnot. And this conclusion was confirmed because the person who was selling the tape actually threw in a CDR copy of the tape. Like, they ripped it themselves and recorded it and put it on a CD. And, it's super duper thoughtful of the person sending. Like, obviously, not everyone who's gonna buy rare tapes on the internet is gonna have the means to play them. It's not the case for me, but, for other people, whatever. But, the CDR had gone bad, like, just on the way from Canada to New York. I don't know if that's just, the harsh weather we've been having. It's been super duper hot this month. But, the CDR was bad, and there were these clicks and pops and skips all over the CD. So again, super thoughtful that this person did it, but, a MediaFire link would have done just fine. All in all, that's pretty much it. I mean, I just wanted to talk a little bit about making this rip, because it's a pretty important thing in Barenaked Ladies history, and it's sort of weird that up until 2 days ago, all of the rips for this tape have been absolute garbage. So what I want you to do is, if you actually care about this sort of thing, is go onto my alt channel, I'll link it in the description, and listen to the new rip, and compare it with the old ones, just to really appreciate how far we've come in terms of this sort of archiving stuff. And then go to bnlhttp.com and download it. So this is Peter signing out. Hope you all enjoy this.